Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of Saturday Morning Cartooning, the show where we take a look at cartoon characters from yesterday as well as today, learn a little bit about their history and the artists behind them, and then learn to draw them together. Today we're going to take a look at the Christmas special that started them all, A Charlie Brown Christmas. A Charlie Brown Christmas is a 1965 animated television special and is the first TV special based on the comic strip Peanuts by Charles M. Schulz. Produced by Lee Mendelson and directed by Bill Melendez, the special tells the story of Charlie Brown and how he finds himself depressed despite the onset of the cheerful holiday season. After the comic strip's debut in 1950, Peanuts had become a phenomenon worldwide by the 1960s. The special was commissioned and sponsored by the Coca-Cola Company and was written and produced on a very small budget. In casting characters, the producers took an unconventional route hiring child actors. Its lack of a laugh track, a staple in U.S. television animation during this time, in addition to its tone, pacing, music, and animation, led both the producers and the network to predict the project would be a disaster. Surprisingly, however, A Charlie Brown Christmas received high ratings and acclaim from critics. A Charlie Brown Christmas became a holiday staple in the United States for several decades afterwards. Its success paved the way for a series of Peanuts television specials and films. The original 1965 special is credited with establishing the Schulz, Mendelson, and Melendez style, combining thoughtful themes, jazzy scores, and simple animation. Okay, let's get started with A Charlie Brown Christmas. Let's take a look at our reference photo. And as you can see, the great Charles Schulz did an amazing job with his character design. And what's so interesting about his design is that they are deceptively simple. He did a lot of what's called direct drawing. He drew directly with ink a lot of times. That's not what we're going to do today. I don't have the same kind of confidence in my Peanuts characters' lines than, of course, Charles Schulz, the creator of Peanuts. So we're going to do some pencil work. And then when we start inking, you're going to see just how unique Charles Schulz's line was. But let's get started with some foundational shapes. We're actually going to do the entire scene here today. We're going to do Charlie Brown, the Charlie Brown Christmas tree, we're going to do Snoopy, and we're going to do his little house. Alright, so let's get started with some foundational shapes. And again, like I said, it's actually quite easy. We're going to start with a very simple circle for Charlie Brown's head. And then he's got sort of like a bottle-shaped body. Now again, this is just a foundational shape. This is just a shape we're putting in basically as a guide that we're going to add clothes onto and other characterization onto. And then his shorts are just a little bit inside the line of the jacket. And Charlie Brown has my favorite kind of feet. I call them loaf of bread feet because they look like loaves of bread. So we're just going to put one loaf there and the other loaf tucked in behind the other one. Alright. He's wearing a hat. We're going to do the brim of the hat first. And then the hat portion of it. It's okay. You'll notice I'm being sketchy and I'm being a little wobbly with my line. You're really going to see that when we start inking. But that is a real signature Charles Schulz look. His lines had a very unique, very distinctive wobble to it. It's actually really good for hiding mistakes. This is the other ear that's going to be tucking out from the other side. Now, Charlie Brown's eyes and nose, I'm going to draw one eye in. His nose is right in between his eyes, so there's just like a letter C right there, and then you put the other eye. And then he's got a real wobbly little smile right there. Alright? There's a little flap on this side of the hat. There's a little band on right off the brim, and then you see a little flap over here, and then there's a little button at the top of the hat. This is one collar of his coat, and then the other one we just see a little suggestion of it. his coat, there's a little fold in the fabric right here, so you can go halfway down and then just draw a little line going in and then go down to the rest of the coat. And his hand is going to be in his pocket. So this arm is going to come down and it's going to go right back up into the cuff. All you see is the cuff of the coat, and then there's a stretch. Oh, actually I should put the opening of the coat. And then there's a stretch of fabric here and here, indicating that his hand is inside his pocket. And then the other hand, all we see is just a little suggestion that his other hand is in his other pocket. Okay, we really don't have to do anything with the pants, but when we start inking, you're going to see how this, again, a real Charles Schulz thing to do is a lot of shadow work. And that's what I'm putting in right now. I'm just sketching in some pencil. That's where we're going to put some shadow later on. Okay, and that's basically Charlie Brown. Let's do his Charlie Brown Christmas tree. Actually, you know, before we do the Christmas tree, let's get Snoopy in there so that we know that we have enough room for Snoopy. Alright, so Snoopy is looking up at the tree, so he's got sort of a peanut-shaped head. Sort of like a peanut on its side. I'm going to just clean that line up a little bit. That's his neck going into his body. Again, real simple character designs, but also very unique at the same time. That's what makes, in my point of view, I think the Peanuts characters are one of the hardest characters to draw so that they look, you know, as close as possible to Charles Schulz. He was so unique in his line, it's very hard to duplicate. And here's one foot, and then the other one tucked behind it. That's his collar. That's one of his arms. His tail. Alright, we don't see the other arm because it's on the other side of the body. Alright, so he's wearing a Christmassy hat. So we got the band of the hat. And then one ear is tucked behind it, so that's going to be one ear. Again, we're going to put some shading in there. And he's got just sort of like an oblong-shaped eye. And there's his nose. I'm just cleaning up that line a little bit. That's why it's important to keep a light touch with your pencil, because you're going to be erasing lines. Artists do it all the time. It's okay to use your eraser. And here is his hat going down. And he's got a little tassel at the bottom. Again, just for my sake, I'm just going to clean up the line in there so that I can put it in the stripes of the hat. Now, this hat is bent. It goes out and then it goes down, so you have to do the lines accordingly. So it's as if the stripes are going to radiate out from this point right here. So we're going to have a stripe going up here, and then down the length of the hat. Okay. Let's just flatten his feet a little bit so that he looks like he is standing on the ground, which is important. And then let's put in the tree. The tree is going to go right about here. If we look at the reference photo, the tree is on these two planks that are making an X. So that's what we're going to draw. We're going to draw two almost three-dimensional rectangles, and they're going to be crisscrossed. So we're going to do one going this way. And then there's going to be one going out this way. Do the best you can with the 3-dimension. That can be a little difficult drawing perspective. Just eyeball it. Okay, there's 2 crisscross pieces of wood. I'm just extending that a little bit. There we go. Okay, and the tree's going to grow out of here. So it's going to be one branch going up. Okay, and he's going to have, this will be the main branch, and then there's going to be a little bit going out here and a little bit going out here. Another little branch going out this way. This is the branch that's going to hold the Christmas ball. Branch here, and this is going to be a branch going out this way that has another little branch coming off right there. Alright, that's the main sticks of the tree, and then you can draw in the needles. Almost like I'm drawing a fork at the end of each one of the little branches. This is the branch that has the Christmas ball, so I'm going to put a little square or a little rectangle right there, and then right underneath it, that's going to be a Christmas ball. You don't have to be exact with this. Okay. Now, we're going to put in a little bit of a background. Let's just say the snow is falling and it's going right across, and it's sort of intersecting with his hat right there. And this is where we're going to draw Snoopy's doghouse. So we have 2 lines and then another line of snow. Okay. And then we're going to put a little roof on it by putting in sort of like a trapezoid shape. Okay, and it's covered in snow, so we're going to put a little bit of snow on the top of it. Okay, those are just the wood planks. And he put Christmas lights on his house, so we're going to drape some here. And then along the edge, and then we just draw the little bulbs on, individual bulbs, sort of like strawberry shapes or little ovals. Again, you do not have to be exact with this. All right. He had a little yellow weather vane. I always thought it was interesting. He had a little weather vane on the top of his Christmas doghouse. So this will be the propeller, and then this will be, draw a little X first, and then some lines going down. A little difficult to draw perspective, especially on a little X shape like that, but you get used to it. That comes with experience. Okay, then he's got a little stick with a star on it, and it's as if it's a little piece of cardboard attached to a stick. So we're going to draw the stick first. And And this little piece of cardboard is on the back of the star, and then we're going to draw the star around it. So here is the star. Okay. Alright, I think we're ready to start inking. And remember, you're really going to see how Charles Schulz was really good at making that spontaneous line. He had a very unique, again, very wobbly line. Hard to duplicate. We're going to try our best. We're going to ink. Make sure that when you use your permanent marker, be careful on furniture and your clothing. And let's get started. Let's do Charlie Brown first. Try to keep it as spontaneous a line as possible. Don't worry too much about what you're doing. You want it to just keep moving. And it's okay to have a little bit of, see, I'm putting like a little wobble in my line. Again, that's that spontaneity of line that Charles Schulz was famous for. Okay, we want this ear to look like it's part of the circle, so we're just going to ink around it. And then this ear, we don't see where it connects to the body, so it's just going to be there. Same thing with his facial features. Try to keep a little wobble in your line. Okay, remember I was talking about the shadow before? We're going to ink in his pants, like that, alright? But then we're going to put a lot of shadow in it. Leave some of it white, because when we color in, his pants are going to be blue. But notice, look at all those shadow lines we put in there. Again, very Charles Schulz. Loaf of bread foot, loaf of bread foot. My favorite kind of feet. Okay. Let's do the tree. Now we want all these branches to look like they're all part of the stick that we drew in, so do your best, the best you can by putting in those lines for the branches. Alright? And then the needles. And it's okay to be spontaneous with your needles. The Charlie Brown Christmas tree was anything but ideal, but it also became very iconic. And you can get Charlie Brown Christmas trees even at the store during the holidays. There's the Christmas ball. And I'm going to put a little circle in there too, and that's going to be the gleam for when we start coloring it in. There's one plank. And we could put some texture lines in there so that it looks a little bit more like wood. Alright. Alright, let's do Snoopy. Same thing, put a little wobble in your line. Alright, and the same thing we did on Charlie Brown's pants, we're going to do for Snoopy's ear, is almost color it in but leave the edges white. And his nose is the same way. We're going to leave a little bit of it white. Alright, now we want his legs to look like they're part of the body, so we're going to ink here down to his foot, all the way around, and then up into the body like that. And then we're not going to connect those lines. Alright, and then you just put a couple of little lines in there for his individual toes. There's his tail. He has a little spot on his tail right about there. Okay, let's do the hat. Remember, some of those lines radiate from that point until it starts going down the length of the hat. And his little tassel over here. Alright, now before we do the background line, let's do the house. That's just the roof right there, but then we have to draw in the snow on the roof. It's just as if you're drawing icing on a cake. There's a little light right on this line, so I'm going to put the light in first before I do the rest of the line. And there is the snow line. Let's do the wire. Part of the wire is covered by snow over here. Notice how I'm putting in a little square and then the light. And the lines going across for the individual planks of the doghouse. And again, don't worry about being exact. Okay, now we can do that snow line going across. Keep it wobbly. Do the weather vane. I'm just drawing the individual legs of the X and then just drawing a line going back. Don't worry about it being perfect. All right. Pretty good. Let's take a little bit of time and erase our original pencil line, see if there's anything else we need to ink in, and then we'll begin coloring. Alright, let's add a little bit of color. He has a red coat. I'm using some red marker today. The Christmas light bulb on the tree is going to be red, so we put that in. Remember, I'm keeping that little white spot there as a gleam. And some of his lights are going to be red, so we can put in a couple that are red. And then the house itself is going to be red, so Because there's so many intersecting lines here, just be careful that you're coloring in what needs to be read. Okay, his pants are going to be blue. You can go right over those shadows. Some of the Christmas lights are going to be blue, so you can do some of them blue. And Snoopy's hat stripes are going to be alternating green and blue. So we're going to start with blue, we're going to skip and do another blue, then skip and do another blue, skip, blue, skip, blue, skip, blue. Alright, and while we're at it, let's get the green in there. Some of his lights on his tree, on his house, are going to be green. The stick of the tree is going to be brown, as is the base. And then wherever there is the needles, just go over with some green. As if you're just drawing more needles with some of the green. His weather vane is going to be yellow. And so are some of the Christmas lights. Oh, also the red is going to be on the star, but the stick is going to be a different color, so we're going to color in the red star with the brown stick. And I have a little bit of pink for the remaining Christmas lights. There we go. Brown is going to be on Charlie Brown's shoes, as well as his hat. And then a little bit of flesh tone for his face. And if you want to finish it up, if you want to complete the look, we can put some dark blue for the back sky. This isn't necessary. This is only if you want to finish a complete scene. Right, and then if you really want to get fancy, on some of the blue of the snow, on some of the white of the snow, do a little bit of blue just on the edges, just highlighting some shadow, making it look a little bit frosty. It doesn't have to be perfect. And there we have it. A Charlie Brown Christmas.